Welcome back, bloodthirsty conquerors. I'm your host, Mance Raider, and today I'll be teaching you about the finer details of a Game of Thrones, the board game of Thrones. To mimic the political maneuvers of Cersei, Tyrion, and Littlefinger, we have 3 influence tracks here on the side of the board. They represent who has the greatest claim to the throne, the Iron Throne track, the most influence in the fiefdoms, the fiefdoms track, and the greatest political maneuverability on the in the King's Court on the King's Court track. So, if you have the highest influence rank on one of these 3 influence tracks, you get the token that gives you, or that lets you cheat a little once every turn. So, these guys have the highest rank because they're first in line, everyone else is not. And this is one of the tokens, the Valyrian Steel Blade. But how do you get to the front row of these tracks? Well, you have to bid your influence tokens, which are these little things that represent your money and political leverage. But how do I get these little tokens that represent money and political leverage? Well, you're going to have to consolidate your power. So, in order to consolidate your power, you play a consolidate power order, which is this little crown thing. So, you take it when you're placing orders and you put it face down so only you know what it is, and then when you're resolving orders you flip it face over, and if it's successfully executed on a unit you control, then you get 1 power token. That is, of course, unless you resolve it in a unit that has one of these little crowns on it, such as these areas. If you resolve it there, then you get not 1, but 2 power tokens to add to your supply, which you can use to bid in later rounds. But of course, when do we bid on these influence tracks? Well, that depends on the Westeros cards, an entirely new and fun concept I have to teach you. So obviously a lot of stuff happens in Game of Thrones, and so to represent all the events that occur, we have the Westeros cards, which I'm panning over here. The supply card adjusts the supply track and reconciles armies to the amount of supply you have. The okay, I'll go over that right now. So, if you control an area that has a little barrel on it, like the Stony Shore here, the number of territories like that you control determines your position on the supply track. So if you control 3, you have the 3rd position there. And that determines how many armies you can control. So if you are on the 3rd spot, you can have an army of 3 people and 3 armies of 2 people. Really just consult it on a case-by-case basis. There's no logic as to the number of people you can control versus the amount of supply you have. Only know that own more territories with barrels, get larger armies. More supply, more people. The mustering cards would actually have you recruit those people. You recruit new units in strongholds and castles. So this type of castle is a stronghold, and this type of fortress is a castle. So a stronghold gives you 2 points because it's better than a castle, and a castle gives you 1 point. You add these into a total for like mustering points, and then you spend them on new units. The knight costs 2 points because it has 2 combat strength. The footman costs 1 point because it has 1 combat strength. A ship costs 1, it has 1 strength, and yeah, that's about it. So you muster based on the amount of castles you control, but you're also still limited by the number of supply you have. So you can't just go recruiting people in order to make them starve, but if you have excess supply and not many castles, then you just have a well-fed, tiny army. But we'll finally get to the bidding bit, which is the Clash of Kings card. This has you bid on the 3 influence tracks. So when you're bidding, you're going to analyze your situation, and you're going to decide, well boy, I really want to retain control of the Iron Throne, so I'm going to bid lots of my power or influence tokens on that. So you'll hold out your influence tokens in a closed fist, and then everyone reveals them at once, and counts how many they reveal. The person who bids the most gets the highest position on the track, if there's any sort of tie, the person who owns the Iron Throne at the time decides the tie. So if you own it and you tie for first with someone else, you choose yourself and you win. Okay, and let's see. So you bid on the Iron Throne track first, and then you bid on the Fiefdoms track, and then the King's Court track. But Mance Rayder, I mean Ben Brazy. No wait, it's Mance Rayder. How do I know which track I want to bid on? Well, that depends on what sort of strategy you're going to play. If you're going to play sort of the win it through influence and alliances, you're going to want to win the Iron Throne so it can let you decide ties. If you want to just conquer people, you're going to want to win in the Fiefdoms because it awards you with this Valyrian Steel Blade, which you can use once per turn to give you a extra combat strength in the final calculation of the battle. So then you can help yourself win, or help other people win. You can use it on whoever you like. And then the owner of the Valyrian Steel Blade also decides all combat ties. The Iron Throne owner only decides non-combat ties. And then the King's Court winner gets this Raven, and then after all the orders are revealed, i.e. they're flipped over and like everyone can see everyone's plans, then you get to play your Raven and send out a new order and replace it with something else. So maybe Stark doesn't want to consolidate power on this guy. Maybe he wants to have him attack somewhere, so he could be like, yeah, you know what, not gonna happen. And he'd switch it out and then he could move him somewhere. So essentially owning the Raven lets you cheat a little bit every turn, but you can only do it once every turn. So yeah, that's Westeros cards and bidding and supply. Leave questions in the messages if you have any. And remember to focus your studies on your finals, not board games. I make that mistake sometimes. But yeah, if you can get your head around these arcane rules, we'll probably have a lot of fun playing a Game of Thrones, the board game of Thrones. You win or you die.